I think if one looks at the BRI, there are a number of issues that need to be considered. First, huge project of BRI magnitude. It takes a long time to come online, also to be successful. And if we look at history, magnitude such as the Marshall Plan after the Second World War, and other major projects, mainly done by Western countries, establishing what we currently see as global trading routes, have taken centuries to build. However, there is a certain peculiarity of the Belt and Road Initiative. Unlike previous major projects, this one is a state-led, China one country that initiated, and however bringing on board a number of other countries along the way. And the very first 10 years, first decade of this project, we're already starting to see notable progress, significant in the sense of numbers. The number of countries that is signed for this project is huge, unprecedented. The amount of money that has been spent on this project is massive, as well as multi-continent. In Asia, where bulk of projects are, but we have seen some of the projects on the African continent, some in Latin America, and quite interesting in Europe itself. And that gives it a global face. And therefore, has it been successful? I think the simple answer is that it's promising. It's giving the only hope to a post-2007, 2008 global financial crisis and post-pandemic hope in terms of infrastructure development. It is indeed starting to register significant progress in a number of countries. The long run, I think, in the long run, major success will then have to be measured in terms of the number of people this project, BRI, it uplift from poverty. And I think it takes time to measure such statistics, then to say whatever statement you make, it's based on figures. As it stands, I don't think we've reached that stage, but you can see notable major infrastructure cut across countries, cut across regions, connectivity, which is central to globalization and to a smooth trade, providing alternative, complementary trading routes for the world. When it comes to what are specific challenges that China has confronted in implementing the BRI, there are a number of challenges. Bulk of these challenges has to do with what we see as a rising geopolitics, that as much as the BRI is welcomed by bulk of the developing world, the United States and the Western countries, the hegemonic powers of the post-1945 world order, seem not to like BRI. They see BRI as a threat, and therefore a number of hindrances, hurdles, traps that have been set before BRI by these big powers. I think one of it, and quite disturbing, is to do with the so-called debt trap. Given the dominance of these big powers within global institutions of financial management affairs, such as the World Bank, your IMF, the narrative of debt trap and BRI projects seen as indebting countries, trapping countries into never-ending wasteful debts, which it's not backed by any studies, not backed by any sensible thinking. The other major challenge that the BRI face in some areas, in some regions, has to do with conflicts, that these are physical projects. They have to pass through certain areas. And then in other areas, it's a question of conflicts, disagreements in a number of countries that stops, and constant change of governments. I mean, you find one government sign, such as Italy, and a new right-wing government came into power, and all of a sudden swayed by the bigger countries to pull out of the BRI. And the third element in terms of challenges to do with a global financial crisis that is still ongoing. And in recent years, we have undergone the pandemic, COVID-19. With it, I think it has brought a lot of pressure on the balance sheet of most countries to an extent that they don't have resources to deal with mega projects. They're dealing with day-to-day survival, and therefore put constraints on the BRI. Going forward, I think we are going to see alternative ways of funding BRI. Either countries find joint projects in which do not necessarily put the debt on their balance sheet, rather build projects such as roads and have toll gates, and generate resources based on outcome of these projects, and give certain years span so that it will then help particularly the poorest countries that are unable to put forward any significant figure in the building of these projects. And the private sector chipping in. There would be ways of lessening the pressure on national treasuries in a way that also the terms of the loans find innovative way that meets some of the challenges that these countries could face going forward. However, there's so much room for countries and therefore better negotiation, not just between China and these countries, but also at a regional level, that if you have a singular project, it has to speak not just to that country, it has to speak across border at the regional level. I have a multi-country project is structured in a way it becomes seamless in terms of implementation, moving forward, and also not to be limited by internal domestic politics, so that it becomes binding beyond 5-year electoral terms that most countries following the liberal or democracy order seem to be the case, that every 5 years there are quite a number of disruption in some of these projects.